What's up, guys? It's been about 3 weeks since the last update, and not too much has changed since that time. Basically, still doing my fair share of cardio 4 to 5 times per week, 5 o'clock in the morning, roll right out of bed, and as you can see here, I'm still kind of sleeping. No, but seriously, what I'm actually doing is visualizing my posing routine, basically working on my choreography mentally. So basically, when I go to do my practice, it's that much more effective and it's a lot more efficient. And that's basically how I really try to hone in on my posing is I do a lot of visualization. So, cardio, yeah, at times can be quite boring. I know a lot of people, they kind of, don't really want to do it and they dwell on it. But basically, I've learned to embrace it and I've learned to get really productive, while sitting there pedaling on my bike. So whether it's, practicing my posing in my head, listening to podcasts or reading some books, I try to, basically, just try to better myself while I'm sitting there pedaling. So anyways, as far as protocols, still the same as far as the macros. 6 low days a week. I got 35-40 fat, 250 to 260 carbs, 170 to 175 on the protein, and then I followed up with one good size refeed. It's usually in the neighborhood of 45 or 40 to 50 fat rather, 5 to 600 grams of carbs, and 170 to 175 protein. That usually falls on Sundays. Sundays is typically kind of that day where the family and I we spend some time together, so I definitely opt to have my food on Sundays so I can, basically enjoy my day a little bit better. And I choose to do my refeeds on non-training days. So I try not to do any type of weight training or any type of cardio on my refeed day, just because I want all that food, all that extra food, to go towards recovery and then setting up the following week's worth of training. So, good refeed on Sunday, rest up, and then Monday back in and training. And usually my Monday and Tuesday training typically a little bit better, because of that extra food that I took on the Sunday. So on the training front, still running the traditional upper lower split. Not too much has changed. In regards to my health, as far as all the aches and pains that I was dealing with, the injuries I was dealing with this prep, I'm 99% healed up. So things have been running really well. I've been able to get my squats rolling again. That was the one movement that was really affected the most. Squats and deadlifting was really affected the most. So my squats have been really kind of on the move, although I'm not in a hurry to get those up, but I am slowly but surely starting to walk the loads up. And what's really even really great about it is that I'm doing it while leaning down. So that was my fear, was I wasn't going to be able to get my squats worked up because of the weight loss, because of the lower calories, and because of the leverage changes now that I'm getting leaner. But to my surprise, I'm actually improving a good amount. So that's been really good to see. Deadlifts, on the other hand, the last session, as you see in the last clip a few seconds back, basically 315 felt like death. It looked like it went up pretty quick, but it felt terrible. And I traditionally like to squat after I deadlift. But when I put 135 on the bar for squats to follow those deadlifts, felt terrible. So I was like, okay, let me just go to leg extension. That's the smarter move to put here. That way I stay safe and I can live to see another day. So basically, I don't want to try to keep beating a dead horse. So, I'm really kind of timid and fearful of, trying to just force those deadlifts up and the squatting up at the same time, just because of the prior injuries. So what I'm doing now, I made a revision to my training. I'm actually throwing the deadlift out for the time being. That way I could focus solely on squats without any type of interruption. But I'm putting in rack pulls instead. So rack pulls, basically, it's just the bar is going to be about mid-shin. So I'll be pulling a little bit higher off the ground versus from the floor. So hopefully it should feel better. So we'll see how those go. I actually haven't done those yet. I'm doing them this Friday. So hopefully, those go well. Of course, I'm not going to try to push the issue and try to, work with extremely heavy loads in the first session. It's going to be pretty moderate, get reacclimated with that lift. And then once I feel comfortable, I'm safe, and it starts to feel more automatic, then I'll start working the loads up. So basically, yeah, just kind of swapped out the deadlifts with rack pulls. Hopefully that can be a little bit of a safer movement for the time being. I did that back in 2011 as well. I was dealing with lower back issue in 2011 during that prep, and I went to a rack pull, and actually it worked out quite well. So I'm hoping past experience can help me, can pave the way forward, I guess, for this prep. So that's been one revision I've made to training. But for the most part, as far as the amount of volume I'm doing at the moment with this prep for my chest and for my back, that's getting probably the most volume out of all the body parts. Just being that, my back, not that it's a weak point at all, it's actually one of the stronger parts, I feel. And I think, the reason I want the volume high there, I just want to make sure that when I'm on stage, especially on the pro level, that, when they say quarter turn to the right, and your posterior chain is facing the judges, that can be a make or break deal, basically, on the posterior chain. And on the pro level, of course we want to get as shredded as humanly possible, but there's a lot more to doing well on a pro stage other than just getting extremely shredded. You basically, the people who win shows are those who have the least amount of flaws. So it's very important that when I turn and my back's facing the judges, that I want to be from head to toe. I want to be totally complete. So I just making sure that I'm putting a good fair share of volume on there, just so I don't I don't lose any type of fullness in my back. And as far as my chest, I think, the last time I competed in 2014, I would say arguably that was probably the body part that was probably my weakest link. And that was some of the judges' comments from the Pro International. That was one of the mentions, was that, I need to work on my chest. Usually I don't take, judges' opinions too seriously, just because they're comparing yourself to the other bodybuilders on that given day. If you were to, let's say, get in a totally different lineup, who knows, I might have had the best chest because maybe the other competitors in that lineup didn't have great chests. So I don't take it too seriously, but from my eye, experienced eye, I could look back and say, yeah, my chest was probably lagging just a little bit. So I just been making sure that the volume on my chest has been a little bit higher than it has been in the past. So we'll see if it makes a difference or not. But yeah, so everything else though, as far as the volume on all the other body parts, it's distributed pretty evenly. I would say my delts I'm only hitting directly once per week. And this is the movement that I've been doing it with, and this is actually a PR. Like 80-pound dumbbell is actually a PR. I did 3 sets in the last workout with 80. That's a big PR, especially with prep and getting leaner. And that one exercise is all I've been doing, and I'm very optimistic that I've made improvements. Even at the age of 46, I think from the age of 43 to now 46. I think I've made some improvement in my delts, and it's just been this one exercise, and I've been really pounding on it now for the last, probably a good 4 years now. That's been my only shoulder movement. And also you have to factor in all the bench pressing I've done, as well as the dumbbell pressing for chest. So my shoulders are getting some work indirectly, so it's not like I'm only hitting them once per week with that movement. I'm getting indirect work as well. Arm work, traditionally I've had pretty solid arms, so I haven't been doing a lot of volume on them, but I am training them twice per week here recently, probably like the last, I want to say, month or two. I've been hitting them regularly, like twice per week. And in the off season, I was hitting them, for the most part, once per week directly. So a little bit more volume there, but not a lot. So, but yeah, so that's basically, yeah, the big things about my training is that I've been just really trying to balance my training in a way to where I'm not cranking out too much volume. I'm not cranking out too much intensity, and just really trying to focus mainly on keeping quality really high. Because basically, I think at this point, what I got myself in the hot water in January and February by trying to do too much. Like I was trying to do too much volume. For the most part, when I say too much volume, I'm talking about the number of sets I was doing, because I've always done the upper lower split, the frequencies twice per week for the most part, for most body parts anyways. Some of them, like I talked about earlier, go once per week. But typically, the setup has been the same, but I was trying to crank out just probably too many sets in January, February, and I think that kind of developed some of the aches and pains and the injuries I was starting to rack up. So, the month of March and April, I'm like, okay, let me tone this shit down. Okay, like I said, chest and back, I'll do like maybe 4 sets per movement, but on everything else is generally like 3 sets, and then sometimes on arm work I keep it at 2. And as far as like how close to failure I'm training, on those big compound movements, not too much. Like you won't see me going to failure in squats and deadlifts, obviously because of safety reasons. But on some of the other movements, yeah, like on my last set, I might get after it a little bit here and there and take it to failure. But for the most part, I'm usually falling about 1 short, sometimes 2. And then if I'm deloading or wherever, I'll try to keep it like 3 short. So just really trying to not, kill myself every training session. That way I can recover. So I'm training intensely enough with the amount of volume I am right now to get a good enough stimulus, but more importantly, I'm able to recover from it, and I'm performing pretty well. So at the moment, things are clicking pretty well from a training standpoint, from a cardio standpoint, fat loss standpoint. So everything is kind of has a nice flow, and that's what's really important right now, is that flow. But as you guys can see, this is kind of what the look is right now. So not, like I said, not a shredded bodybuilder yet, but definitely not off season anymore. I'm kind of in that tweener stage, and at the moment, I'm pretty happy with how this is looking for being 16 pounds above stage weight. So I'm really excited to kind of see that final product, but I'm staying very patient and really trying to stay within the process and trust the process. But again, at 46, pretty damn proud of how things are sitting right now. So until the next update, guys, hope you guys have a good killer weekend, and we'll talk soon.